All right, so like I said, it's getting a little bit late here, but I've also been staying up super late, and so I wanted to film another video, a little introduction here, and answer some more of the questions that I've gotten about the 7-day challenge. And then also I'm going to throw in some more free content, and I think what I'll put next at the end of this video is part of either I may do 2, or I may even throw in a third one, but I'll probably do a little bit of a death role play that I have there, and I'll also do a bit of, I think, one of the guided releases / meditations / visualizations. And it's really the visualizations that I haven't seen anyone else do like I do it. So I'll maybe attach a little bit of that. And it is still a huge lightning thunderstorm going on here, so it's cool. I've just been sitting here and watching these epic lightning bolts shine down from the heavens, and really cool. And I was just thinking, just like really quick before I hop into it, I'm like, I had this just thought, and I was like, because it was recently July 4th, and you know, obviously you have fireworks, and I watched the fireworks, and I was like, okay, the fireworks are really cool. I love fireworks. But sitting here watching these lightning bolts, it's like nature's fireworks. And these things are 100 times more epic than the finale of fireworks I saw over July 4th. So I don't know, man. It's cool, like when you see like the power that nature has in an example here, just because it just destroys anything. I mean, mankind, we can do some pretty incredible things, and especially, you know, going into the future with technology booming and, you know, space travel and everything, it's going to be epic. Like, I think even just in a couple hundred years, like, who knows, we'll have colonies on Mars, and we'll have other space stations throughout the solar system. It's going to get crazy, but still, compared to what you can just experience here in nature, it's also like, why even explore into space, in the sense that I think it's going to be cool, but you have everything that you could ever want right here on this planet. And you have everything, all the knowledge already contained within your noggin right now. It's just been kind of completely covered up by falling into the derp state of life, going through the day-to-day routines, and just kind of like losing that passion for life. So a lot of this is kind of retraining you. And again, with femdom addiction, it's really, you just put yourself to sleep, right? In many cases, what I've seen and what I used to do, I'm trying to sit with myself, and I'm trying to, there we go, sit up for a second. What I saw with myself is that oftentimes when things would get hard in my life, I would always have femdom addiction to fall back on. I called it my safety blanket. And it was like, and every addict, this is kind of the case for, and femdom is really no different. So it's like when things get hard, you always know you can just sit in your room and watch femdom and jerk off. Or whenever something is challenging, you can just defer to femdom and say, well, I could have been successful at that, but because I have the femdom addiction, that's why I wasn't, you know? So it's like that, just like fallback. And so you really want to get it handled to the point where you're not using it as this crutch anymore. And it's really just, like I said, you want to get it handled so that you don't just keep on, these beetles are flying at me, I'm trying to punch it. So that you don't keep, it's like kamikazes into my head. I can feel it. These beetles they're vicious. But you want to get it handled so that you don't have to keep on relapsing, because ultimately, when you keep on relapsing, what I found was that I would relapse, and then it would take me time to get out of the relapse, to where by the time I would get out of the relapse and like get back to my normal way of living, I would basically be relapsing again. So I was always in this cycle of relapsing, fighting my way out, getting normal again. And then the second I would basically get back to being quote unquote normal, as in being productive or working out or like doing things that I actually enjoyed, I would then be relapsing again. So I was pretty much always in this like cycle of relapse, and it was just you're never gonna be able to do the things in your life, whatever it is, if that's the case, because all your energy is then being funneled into your addiction. And that's the nature of being a femdom addict, or really being any addict, is that not being able to control it, and then all your time, thoughts, and energy. And also the thing that's crazy is that like you should have mostly like good creative thoughts, right? And then when you're always watching femdom, it makes you so cynical of everything in life. It makes you so negative about everything. That was the thing that drove me insane too, was when I was addicted to femdom, all my thoughts were like negative. Like I said, I even had anxiety to walk down the street during the day. I would always be I would do all like my grocery shopping or like everything, like working, all that would always be done at night. And it was crazy because I was like super, I had a lot of anxiety just to be outside during the daytime with like lots of people on the street. That's how crazy it was. So do not live any more of your life like this. We're gonna get this handled. And I think what I'm gonna probably post here will be a clip of one of the death meditations, which is gonna help you get a lot more kind of urgency and context. And it sounds dark, and it is kind of dark, but at the same time, it's also really comforting and kind of relieving in many ways. So we could walk through that, and then maybe show a part of one of the, I think, courage visualizations is what I will put in, but that'll be open to other possibilities. But I think both of those would be good little ones to show, and these are both going to be straight out of the 7-day challenge. And again, like I said, there's like 100 videos in there. There's also bonus content, and it really is just this ultimate distillation of what took me several years to really come to terms with through experimentation, reading tons of books, taking other courses, and just through trial and error, just relapsing like 100 times on femdom. And so, you know, if you really want to get your femdom addiction handled as quickly as possible, that was epic. I'm telling you, these lightning bolts are like miles in length. Like I have here, if I can turn this camera around, you are not really going to be able to see it, but like where I'm sitting, and I just dropped my tripod. Where I'm sitting, like I can see this like wide expanse, I don't know if you can really see, of sky. And they're just stretching like the entire length of the sky. Of course, now you didn't see it, but and I just broke my tripod, so hopefully we can get this put back in here. Get that baby in there. But yeah, so if you want this just ultimate, like what I've kind of broken down, what I think are these most important ideas, and then the combination of the subconscious releases and the visualizations coupled with the missions and the accountability, just go ahead and do it. And I'm gonna leave it at like almost like a really low price for the next like maybe 10 or 20 people that decide to do it. And just like as a because I want to get as many people in there so that we can start like bouncing ideas off of each other, and like really create like good like accountability groups, and then ultimately, like I said, my goal is to really then bring as many people up out of the femdom addiction, and then see you guys succeed and create maybe other ideas or ventures. I would like other people to even like shoot videos with. I'm totally down to do like live, because this is the thing, when you're addicted to femdom, because guys, you hide behind these like fake profiles and stuff, it's like you're much more likely to relapse. When you can get out and you can start openly talking about this stuff, and I understand like you can stay completely confidential, but you can also just hop on a call and like I can record it too or whatever and like post that. But I'm totally down to get on like Zoom calls too and record those, throw those up, and just create like a whole network of badass guys, and like we're just beating, you know, addictions, and then improving all the other elements in our life. But it helps to talk about it, because when you're stuck in your own head and you keep on relapsing and you haven't worked on your subconscious and you don't have accountability, there's all these factors that are like they're keeping you locked into this addiction. And the more you relapse, what ends up happening is that eventually you'll hit, for me, what happened was I hit this point to where I was like, well, screw it, I'm just going to keep on relapsing. What's the point? What's the point in trying to even fight this? I know that like for me, it was every 2 weeks. I would be like out of Femdom for 2 weeks. Then I would be back. And this is after actually, let me kind of preface this and say that what ended up eventually happening was after I would go through these cycles of 2 weeks, or maybe that was after, I'm not exactly sure, but basically I would be going through these cycles and they would last 2 weeks. So I'd be 2 weeks on Femdom, then I would get out for about 2 weeks, and I would relapse back in, get out, and then relapse, and it was these 2 week cycles, and I was like, what? And so eventually I was just like, what's even the point? I know that I'm just going to keep on relapsing. And so then I just fell into this depression for about 2 years, where, and that'll happen where it's just like, you're so tired of trying to fight, because you're, again, fighting this external addiction, and it's not getting to the root cause of it. So watch the previous video that I put up, and that's really helpful. That was a huge revelation, and really what a lot of this challenge is based around is getting to the root cause. Because ultimately, if you don't get to the root cause, you're going to keep on fighting it, and eventually you're going to relapse, you're going to get burned out. And then what happened to me was I just fell into this completely, like, 2 years of like just giving up, like basically losing hope, because I'm like, well, what's even the point in trying to fight? Because it's going to keep on going back. So I think what I'm going to post now is from, I may do 2 videos. One would be one of the death meditations or role plays from the 7-day challenge. I think the other one that I'm going to put in is part of the courage visualization. And like I said, these are just 2 small little components of the challenge, and I got tons of videos in there, tons of missions, accountability, and I know you guys are going to really like it. But I just figured I'd show some of the stuff from the course, because why not? And like I said, I always try to put out as much content and as possible, because I'm trying to just share as much knowledge as I can, just because I know how destructive and trapped up in your own head most of you guys are. And it's really something that I think is, like I said, much more destructive than people even realize. And ultimately you have to get it handled, because at the end of the day, you are doing it to yourself. Like I said, there's bugs crawling all over me. We'll get into this in future videos that I'm going to film, but there's nothing wrong with having, the point. Okay, so I don't really want to dive into this more in this video, but essentially you have to take responsibility for your own life. I'm not going to blame anyone else. Like, I don't blame the femdoms for doing it. I actually really like feminism. That's another video that I want to create, is like this femdom versus feminism. They get completely misconstrued. I'm totally pro feminism. Love that. I like powerful women, dominant women even. That's totally fine. Femdom is completely different. Femdom is just self-destruction, self-sabotage, addiction, relapse, despair, depression, being weak, being vulnerable, being addicted, not living the life that you want to, having other substance addictions, even being even physical abuse, negative energy, downward spiral. There's a whole just host of problems that are associated with femdom. None of that has to do with feminism, right? So that's also a video that I'm going to make very soon, is that distinction between the two, because oftentimes, and people don't really understand this. They just see, like, maybe they see me make a video about this and they're like, oh, like, it's like, no, I love women. Women are amazing. There's a complete difference between feminism and femdom. But like I said, that'll be for another video that I'm going to make soon. But yeah, let's, this video's kind of gotten a little bit rambly, so let's hop into 2 more of the videos from the 7-day challenge. And I can't wait to see all you guys in there. We're gonna do lots of great work. It's time to get to work, but enjoy these 2 clips from the challenge. And without further ado, enjoy the death roleplay and the courage visualization. Said that strange. Enjoy, guys. So I want you to start by lying down on the ground, wherever you are, and get comfortable, lying down on your back, and we're going to visualize the ceiling of the room, or if you're outside, the sky collapsing, falling down from the heavens, or just the building that you're in, the ceiling collapsing and crushing you. And this is how you die. The ceiling falls down, the sky collapses, everything crushes in on itself, and you are now no longer alive, and you are dead. Now, as you start to realize this, I want you to think of your body, your now lifeless body, and I want you to picture your essence staring down at your lifeless body, your spirit staring down at your dead body. And as you are staring at your dead body, I want you to start thinking about all the people in your life that you really care about. I want you to start thinking about your mother, whether your mom is still alive or not. Think about your mother. Think about your relationship to her. Were there things that you maybe wanted to say to your mom, to your mother? Were there things that you held against her, tensions, resentments, things that now you realize were just merely trivial in nature? And now think about your father. What kind of resentment did you maybe hold to him? What was your relationship like to your father? And what were some of the things that maybe you never told him that you actually really wanted to tell him? What were the things that you wanted to tell your parents? What was your relationship like? And maybe you have brothers or sisters, and what was your relationship like to them, to your siblings? And did you show them love? If you could go back now, I mean, you're dead now, but if you could go back, what would you have told your mom? What would you have told your dad? What would you have told your brothers and your sisters? What would you have done things differently? And start to really sink into this. Start to really think about what are the things that you would have done differently? How would you have let them know that you cared about them? How would you have let them know that you actually really love them? And start to think about and sink into these type of emotions. Now, I want you to start thinking about what are the things that maybe you would have done differently in your life. Maybe things that you wasted a lot of time on. Negative thoughts, trivial things that really didn't matter. Addictions that you carried with you that ended up wasting time, energy, maybe even hurting other people in your life. Start to think about these different things that you carried with you, the things that didn't serve you, the negative things in your life that maybe you would have done differently. Start to think about what type of maybe skills you would have liked to have actually pursued that now you'll never get the chance to do. Or maybe think about all the places that you wanted to travel to that you'll never get to travel to, or all the people that you wanted to meet, and start to sink into the feeling that arises from all the experiences that you wanted to have. Start to think about the friendships and the people in your life. And now, what emotions come up when you think about your friends, your acquaintances, your colleagues? What would you have maybe done differently with your friends? And how would you have really shared your time together and gone through really meaningful experiences? Start to think about your friends. Let's start to think about maybe any pets that you may have. How would you have done things differently? Maybe showing them more love, more affection, bonding with them more, showing them that you actually truly care. What are some of the things that you would have done differently? Now let's start to shift to your core essence. Let's start to think about all the different things that you just wasted time on that now that you're dead really didn't matter. Things that seemed like they were important at the time, but in fact, now that your spirit is looking down on yourself, you can start to observe that they really didn't matter. Now, I want you to start to think about all these different things that you were doing in your life that didn't serve you in any way, yet they seemed like they were. But now in death, you realize that they just absolutely weren't important. Let's really dive into these. Really think about all the things that you were doing in your life that were not important. Now from here, let's start to think about what are the true things in your life that actually hold significance, that the things that you really, as your spirit looks down at your dead body, what are the things that you wish that you had done more of? What are the things that you wish you had embraced more? What are the things that you wish you had experienced more? What are the emotions that you wish that you had cultivated more? And really sink into this and really become one with these feelings. And what are the emotions that come up as you dive and sink into the life that you wish you had lived? And let whatever emotions are arising, let them come up. As you look at your dead body, you realize how much of your life was funneled towards things that really in death you realize had absolutely no significance. Things in your life that you wish you had done differently. Things in your life that maybe you were scared to do. Maybe that's why you didn't do them. Maybe they seemed like they were too difficult. Maybe it was just because you thought that you didn't have enough time. Maybe you thought that you weren't good enough. What emotions come up towards not being good enough? What emotions come up with not being strong enough? What emotions come up with not being loving enough? Sink into these feelings. What emotions come up with all the time that was wasted doing things that hurt yourself, that didn't serve you, all the things that you could have been doing that would have left more of an impact, that would have let the people that matter the most to you know that you truly love them. What emotions come up as you think about that? And start to think about the life if you could go back in time, if you were still alive, you were still breathing, if your blood was still pumping through your heart and your arteries, you still had oxygen in your blood. If you could go back and you could be revitalized, brought back to life, what are the things that you would have done differently? What are the things that you would have changed? Who are the people that you would have let them know that you actually truly care about them? Who are the people that you would let them know that you truly love them? What are the type of experiences that you would pursue? What are the type of skills and endeavors that you would partake in? Would you challenge yourself more? Would you push yourself to be more uncomfortable into taking action, having urgency? What are the emotions that come up? Would you have spent less time on the addictions, on the negative thought loops, all the trivial things that really didn't serve you, even though maybe at the time you thought that they were important? What are some of the places that you would travel to? What are some of the skills that you would actively pursue, even if you thought that you weren't good enough or that you weren't strong enough? Would you stretch yourself and expand yourself, taking courage, taking action? What are the things that you would do differently if you could live again? What are the emotions that you would have differently if you could live again? Who are the people that you would have kept closer in your life if you could live again? Start to think and sink into all of these feelings. And realizing that life goes by and things that seem like they are important, or all the self-doubt that we have, that we think that we can't do something, is really just a figment of our imagination. Now I want you to fully think about and feel what you would really have done differently, what you really at a core essence care about. If you had to pick 3 key themes, core identities in your life that you really care about, core principles, core emotions, what are the things that if you could live again, that you would really build your core identity around? What are the things that truly matter? Now I want you to think about these, and I want you to sink even further down into the ground. You've been now dead for years. Your body is sinking back into the earth. Your flesh has completely decomposed. All your organs have broken down and gone back into the earth. The only thing that remains is maybe a few skeletal bones. And I want you to just fully sink back into the earth and realize that the time that we have on this earth is precious. It's very fleeting, and it's important to understand that there's a certain level of urgency that we all need to take. Yet, when we're so trapped in our heads throughout day-to-day life, busy, that we feel and we forget the true things that really matter in our lives. And start to think and just keep on thinking, looping in your head as your body is disintegrating back into the earth. If I could live again, what are the core principles and things in my life that I would have done differently, that I would have changed, the people that I would have spent more time with, the emotions that I would have had more of? What are the core things, if you could be brought back to life, that you would have done differently? Take a moment to really push into this feeling. Now we're going to start to come back to life, and I have good news for you today. Because as you start to bring awareness back into the ground, your flesh starts to come back onto your bones. Your organs start to be rebuilt back into your body. Blood starts pumping back through your muscles and your veins. Your brain is regenerated. Everything in your body is now coming back to life. And the good news that I have for you today is that all the things that you wish that you could have done differently, as your spirit is staring down on your now body that is coming back to life, you realize that you can make that choice, that you are now reborn again. And the news that I have to tell you today is that you have been reborn, and that you can pursue all those things that you wish in your death that you had done differently. And the change can start here today as your body comes back, is resurrected, and you are now able to have much more perspective and a full understanding of what the true things in your life that really matter. You can point yourself in that direction, and always remember that you have seen what ultimately really matters in your life.